Welcome to meditation for people who cannot spell meditation. Why do we meditate? We often act as if we were slaves to our instincts. Although this could be occasionally pleasurable, it is not fulfilling. What is the freedom that Buddha offered? Not freedom from the presence of our drives, but rather freedom from the tyranny of our drives. We do this through the two primary tools of mindfulness and meditation. Let's begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord, the part that corresponds with our rib cage. Our sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to support active concentration. Au contraire, it supports the opposite. What's the opposite of active concentration? Simply perception. Perception that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random. As is typified by the 12-syllable summary, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. So what are we to do with the turbulence of mind? Well, we're to meditate upon it, but how does that work? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we automatically, effortlessly access our parasympathetic nervous system. It too is ensconced within our spinal cord, this time in the lower lumbar region, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And it has evolved for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So that's a good thumbnail sketch. But you and me both know that there are times in our lives where it feels like our circumstances or our bodies or our relationships or our minds are trying to beat the hell out of us. What do we do then? Well, that stress is usually exacerbated by our impulse to resist. And it's understandable. It's a survival instinct. We resist. So typically when we encounter anything new, in the oldest regions of our brain, our prelingual impulses are to either fuck it, or feed on it, or fight it, or flee from it, or faint before it, or fawn over it. I call those the 6 Fs. So what do we do when it feels like we're being overwhelmed by perceptions that are unbearable? We work with deliberately generalized labels. So for instance, we use a generalized label to keep from falling into the trap of duality. So instead of saying, oh, that's beautiful, that's ugly, we say, that's an appearance. Instead of saying, that sounds discordant, or that sounds harmonious, we would say, oh, a resonance. Instead of saying that feels pleasurable or that feels painful, that is a sensation. Instead of thinking in terms of delicious or disgusting, it's flavor. Instead of smelling pretty or vile, it's fragrance. But we have but in addition to our mere mechanical perceptions of the world outside of us, we have an interior experience. Instead of feeling happy or sad, we feel an emotion. Instead of feeling malicious or benevolent, we feel an intention. Instead of feeling sharp or dull, we're experiencing cognition. Instead of experiencing happy or a sad memory, we're experiencing recollection. Instead of an optimistic or a pessimistic fantasy, we're experiencing just imagination. By playing with these labels, we make it easier to balance the two phenomena of awareness and letting go without getting stuck in the duality of forever shoving or forever reaching, which is just exhausting. Forever shoving away from something that's unpleasurable is resistance to its presence. Forever reaching for something that seems pleasurable is resisting its absence. Resistance is exhausting. We can transcend this simply through labeling. So, for instance, right now I'm experiencing discomfort in my back, so that would be sensation, relaxing. That doesn't get rid of the sensation, but it helps me to stop resisting it and to let it flow through me, to allow my body and mind to harness its momentum, to turn the metaphoric wheels and cogs of the enlightenment machine, which really works well. I look forward to chanting with you and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. This morning, let's play with the Atesar Ngondro text that was composed by Dojum Lingpa back in the 1800s. It was translated under the supervision of, into English, under the supervision of Kachagdu Tulku back in the 80s. And let's see. And it has been adapted and amplified by yours truly. If at any point during the remainder of this live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. There are 4 sets of techniques we're going to play with. The first set of techniques is known by many names, including Anutantra's energy work. And we're going to play with a metaphoric or a figurative recitation to help our experience of subtle energy to gather at the crown of our head, which sometimes can help us to practice the union of awareness and letting go. Together, we're going to place our hands in a puckered palm position overhead. And here's an easy mnemonic device. This lettering is the color of a fluffy cumulus cloud that might hover overhead. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. Homage, O Lama, please come to this crown. O infallible, constant protector who knows all Dharma things. As children, our first bicycle most likely came with training wheels, and although they were clunky, they got the job done. Similarly, to this morning's first meditation is also clunky, but it's going to be a good tool to warm up with. As we inhale, we could silently and mentally recite perceiving, this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Now, is this an affirmation? Well, what's an affirmation? An affirmation is a lie you tell yourself with great energy and enthusiasm, hoping that that will make it come true. This has nothing to do with that type of magical thinking. This is not belief oriented. It's factual. We're telling ourselves the truth. I am perceiving, whether I want to or not. I'm perceiving the turbulent play of mind, regardless of how peaceful I should rather be. Our minds are wired to be turbulent. We're telling ourselves the truth. We're just reminding ourselves of that truth. For so often, our 3-pound supercomputer between our ears is so busy doing this and such that it actually cock blocks the functions of our autonomic nervous system, which contain, you might say, the birthright of enlightenment. So as we exhale, we remind ourselves that we're already wired to physically relax into mind in such a way that it feels as if mind had a non-graspable nature. That's it. So let's play with this together right now. Our second category of techniques we're going to play with, I refer to as sutra recitations. In lieu of spending days and weeks and months and years contemplating, trying to exhaust our prefrontal cortex in an attempt to influence our emotions, we're going to take just a moment, less than 60 seconds, to recite a quip. And then we're going to relax the mind. And what we're doing is allowing the subconscious mind to process these compelling thoughts. Now, here's a second tidbit. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation teachers. So it should come as a little surprise that a gross majority of meditation teachers think being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel is really, really peachy keen. And it should not come as a little surprise that only a minority think it's far, far better to be flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So, you know how they wouldn't let poor Rudolph join in all the reindeer games? Well, much like the author of the Song of Enlightenment, I too am an outcast Lama. So I teach from the minority point of view. And I teach that instead of saying, okay, we have a precious human life and it's difficult to acquire, and if we don't make the most of it, we'll go to hell. That's malarkey. It's far better to say, by entertaining the possibility that we have already received really good fortune, to even have this opportunity to practice, can fill us with joyful enthusiasm, which is the sixth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. So together, let's chant. Let's place our palms in the hands in the puckered palm position at our sternum. The mnemonic device for this is that this heading is the color of a nautical horizon on a bright and beautiful cloudless day. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. And you might say, oh, Lama Jigme, you're just an airy fairy caring about people's happiness. You gotta frighten people to coerce them into doing the right thing. Okay, well, here's the problem with that. When we use fear to coerce people into doing what we think is the right thing, we are shoving them into duality, into chasing after what they desire and to flee what they dread. That's you can't using duality to get to non-duality is an awful lot like making love in the name of virginity. It's a fun way to spend an afternoon, but it won't get you any closer to your goals. So, what we try to do is use these words in harmony with our central nervous system to make our journey of mastery of the Buddha's path as easy as possible, as joyful as possible. Now that we've played with these ideas, we're going to let our subconscious process them. And to do that, we're going to remove the first of two metaphoric training wheels, reducing our contemplation from 12 syllables down to just 3. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, notice this. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing. Allow me to remind you that it is not our job to perfectionistically exhaust ourselves trying to find the perfect label in the shortest amount of time. Give yourself permission to stroll rather than sprint. Life is messy. We were born naked, screaming, and covered with goo. Meditation can be messy. Give yourself permission to have a shallow learning curve. Let's play with another sutric idea. The first fold of the eightfold path is the view that supports letting go. In the Buddha's most popular meditation manual, the Anapanasati Sutta, the primary contemplation was one of impermanence. Let's chant. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. And now let us process this subconsciously as we remove the second of two metaphoric training wheels and reduce our meditation down to just one syllable. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. Transforming three-syllable labels to a one-syllable paradigm requires a bit of the old poetic license. When we feel physical sensations, we could use the noun form. When we feel their emotional counterpart, we could use the verb feel. When we find ourselves in recollection, we could use the preposition then. When we find ourselves imagining, we could use the verb dream. The second fold of the Buddha's eightfold path is love, as opposed to, that was very exciting, as opposed to active love. And one of its enemies of wishing love is the appeal to fertility logical fallacy. And so this couplet, these two lines remind us that our efforts to be a comfort to others are not in vain. The results of our virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. The results of our virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. The results of our virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. Together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Yoda on Dagobah under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. There is a phenomena psychologists refer to as compassion fatigue. Fortunately, each of us is armed with mirror neurons, and whenever we have exercised the courage to admit to ourselves that we're experiencing some stress, whether that stress be circumstantial or physical or interpersonal or mental, the very act of admitting to ourselves that we can experience stress helps us to involuntarily empathize with others who even possibly could be experiencing the same stresses, or perhaps even worse. Let's chant. The three realms we experience as samsara cycle are like an ocean of suffering. The three realms we experience as samsara cycle are like an ocean of suffering. The three realms we experience as samsara cycle are like an ocean of suffering. If this seems like a difficult pill to swallow, watch the news. After enough days of watching reports, watching film, watching video evidence of apartheid and genocide, of classism and racism and sexism, this will make more sense to you. Kids are naturally enthusiastic. As a child, I remember watching Sesame Street in the morning before school and being crafted into a little consumer. No, mother, I do not want a common orange. I want a sun-kissed orange, for it was endorsed by Big Bird himself. So let us plug into that same circuitry together. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. Dharma is just a foreign word for teachings of the Buddha. Many decades ago, one of my Huna teachers explained to me that it's not enough to do spiritual things, we also have to do corporeal things. So imagine my surprise to learn that in Mahayana Buddhism, it is not uncommon to blend physical activity with the recitation of refuge. Because of my numerous disabilities, I'm no longer able to do Tibetan-style Buddha bowing. But what I can do is perform geriatric step-back squat thrusts while reciting this quatrain. If you wish to join me, you are welcome, but it is by no means mandatory. Now, until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. Well, that was invigorating. Let us continue to exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have each been my kind mothers. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have each been my kind mothers. I've got such an oily nose. Oh my goodness. Three, 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness, and 75% of that pertains not to intention, but to behavior, to practicing kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. Not trying to be Karen and get people fired, not trying to be a Chad and drive businesses out of business. We are reminded of this by performing the Tantric Mandala offering. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. The jewels being the Buddha's example, the Buddha's teachings, and the Buddha's students. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives of the three jewels. And now, for an exciting change of pace, we rest the mind. "90% of teachers would say we practice in order to gain hundreds of thousands of repetitions of prayers and bows and offerings and the like. The wise say no. We practice. We alternate between little recitations and little meditations to master the Buddha's path in even a week. Again, we're dealing with white lettering, the color of a cumulus cloud, puckered palms overhead. Dorje Sampa, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations on Vajrasattva. Dorje Sampa, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations on Vajrasattva. Now we come to mantra meditation. But first, a bit of the old energy work. Dissolving into light, diamond, mind, mother and father, blend with me an experience of heart's oneness. Dissolving into light, diamond, mind, mother and father, dissolve into me an experience of heart's oneness. Dissolving into light, diamond, mind, mother and father, blend with me an experience of heart's oneness. And now we come to mantra meditation. The 14th Dalai Lama's late teacher, Gyatso Kensei, insisted that Tantra is based on sutra with which it must never contradict. According to sutra, the first two folds of the Eightfold Path are right view and right aspiration, the wisdom of letting go and wishing love. According to the Anapanasati Sutta, there the four bases of mindfulness from a certain point of view would be the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. So we're going to multiply those four by those two and come up with 8 mantra meditations. They're going to be highly figurative because we evolved to think symbolically. So we're going to begin by bringing the mental into the path of love and letting go. We're going to begin by chanting a 4-line wish. May all minds of all beings now be as wise and peaceful as the mind of a Buddha, of Lord symbolized by a bija, one syllable seed mantra, humoti clay drop. Whether or not a Buddha exists, in popular culture there is the idea of a Buddha, which is often symbolized, whose mind is often symbolized by a 1-syllable mantra. We are wishing that everyone be that wise. So as we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite a rather concise version of the exact same wish. During our exhalation, we're going to physically relax as best we can while chanting this 6-syllable mantra. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. By the way, if you have a sick friend, a sick relative, a sick pet, and you rest your palms on their body near the area that's affected while chanting this, it could really make them feel better. This is not an alternative to medical treatment, but an adjunct. I recommend doing this after someone has a diagnosis, because you don't want to interfere with the process. Sorry. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. May all relationships of all beings now be as living and joyful as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by the 6-syllable mantra. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Wouldn't it be cool as we chanted this mantra, 84,000 rays of light left from our heart wheel and lavished all beings everywhere with every conceivable blessing. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful, healthy, pictured and Buddhist thought of the blissful body of a yidam of lore and archetype of enlightenment. Om Vajrasattva, 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 How are we like Vajra Sattva Yabhyam? We're capable of practicing love and letting go. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the safety, good fortune, or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Alti. Om Vajrasattva, 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 Let us review the meaning of the idea of emptiness. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could feel as not graspable as a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite actress Kion or bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although compelling to the eye is not graspable to the hand. So now, just as how could we emulate Dorje Sampa Yabhyam, or Diamond Mind, Mother and Father? They practice awareness and letting go, and so shall we. We'll begin by chanting a rather extensive rhetorical question. How is it that as we inhale all calm and lots of circumstances could appear quite vivid, yet as we relax into our exhalation they could feel as not graspable as a real or imagined paradise or body of light? Now, during our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite a very concise version of that same rhetorical question, and during our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can as we chant this six-syllable mantra. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. So we began with love and letting go. We started with the mind, and then the communication, and then the physical, and then the circumstantial. And it was like we're opening up an umbrella. And now it's like we're closing the umbrella because we're going from the circumstantial to the physical to the interpersonal to the mental. How is it that as we inhale, all common bodies or forms could feel quite sensual? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined octopoium of light. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. How is it that as we inhale the Take two. How is it that as we inhale the interpersonal experience of common communication or speech could be quite resounding? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra of light. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, Om Vajra Sattva Hum. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. How is it that as we inhale, we could perceive mind's function? Let's try this again. How is it that as we inhale, we could perceive mind's common functions clearly? Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined seed-sittable hum of light. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. Okay, so we have white superscription, so our hands in the puckered palm position imitate a cumulus cloud. How am I like Dorje Nalshar in the sky in front of me? Maru Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. How am I like Dorje Nalshar in the sky in front of me? Maru Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. How am I like Dorje Nalshar in the sky in front of me? Maru Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Lama, I pray to you. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Lama, I pray to you. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Lama, I pray to you. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives and in the motto. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives and in the motto. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives and in the motto. Bless me always throughout the three times Om Ahum Vajra Guru Manmasini Hum. Bless me always throughout the three times Om Ahum Vajra Guru Manmasini Hum. Bless me always throughout the three times Om Ahum Vajra Guru Manmasini Hum. How are you and I like Dorje Naljor? Each of us is capable of practicing bliss and letting go together. Let's place our hands in the puckered palm position, remembering that blue lettering, it corresponds to the nautical horizon. Therefore, we rest our hands at our sternum. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. Let's place our hands in the puckered palm position before our forehead. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tatsiri Hum. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the rhetorical question, how relax into the awareness of these feelings. As we exhale, we can physically relax as best we can into the recitation of this 12-syllable mantra. Om Ahum Varara Guru Manmaziri 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 Please place the center of your, please place your hand palm up in your lap and your left hand upon that, also palm up. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tatsiri Hum. Om Ahum Varara Guru Manmaziri 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 Please place your puckered palms before your throat. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hu. Omahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Omahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Hum. Omahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Hum. Please place the center of your left palm upon your navel and the center of your right palm upon that. Menzo Guru Kaya Wakatsi Tasini Hum. Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varara Guru Manmazini Hum. Please place your hands in the puckered palm position before your sternum. Menzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. Umahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Umamahum Varana Guru Manmaziri Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me in all hearts and separability. The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me in all hearts and separability. The Lama dissolves into me and blends. Let's try this again. The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me in all hearts and separability. Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama, the union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama, the union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama, the union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. As we breathe in, please silently and mentally recite the rhetorical question, how relax into the awareness of this. What is this? This is whatever we notice, be it external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu 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 Varara Guru Manmaziri Omahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umomahu Varara Guru Manmaziri Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri, Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri, Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri, Umahum Varara Guru Manmaziri. Let us now rehearse the transference of consciousness at the time of death, which is known in Tibetan as Powa. As we breathe in, it could very much feel like our mind is coalescing at our heart, and as we exhale, it can feel like our mind is shooting up our central channel out the fontanelle where it dissolves into the vast expanse. This is the practice of awareness and letting go in the face of the inevitable. Please place your hands in the pickered palm position way overhead. I pray to the protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Powa. I pray to the protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Powa. I pray to the protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Powa. Let us now practice the Tantra's Cho slicing offering as an act of enthusiasm for the practice of love and letting go. Please place your hands in the puckered palm position before your sternum. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. Let us seal our practice with a bit of the old well-wishing. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately, let's see what time it is. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early morning meditation class and group practice. Wow, that is way off. That should have been today's evening meditation class and group practice. What was I thinking? And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.